What's up, everybody? Evan here for Grips.com, continuing with Project Get Me Stackin. Today's question is one that I'm sure we all want to deal with, and we all want to have the trouble of being like, man, how do I figure this out? And it's knowing when to cash out. So I can tell you one time definitely not to cash out. That would be when you got no money in your bankroll, because how in the hell are you going to do that? But if you're watching this video, then you probably are not in a situation where you have no money in your bankroll, because either you're just building it or you're playing our free rolls to keep you flush. And yeah, let's just go straight to the question, talk about what you guys can do with that money once you built it up and when is the best time to get access to it. Okay. Hi, Evan. Love your work. Since having time in between jobs, I have taken time to study the game of Texas Hold'em and really focus on my game at PokerStars. After a lot of studying, watching your detailed videos, and a lot of learning losses, I have turned my bankroll around and started making a modest profit with online poker. And I love that he said learning losses, because in a loss doesn't mean you fail. There's the opportunity to get a lesson from it and learn from it and become better. Okay, straight to the question. I've learned a lot on the subject of bankroll management and follow it religiously, but I don't read or hear about when and how much should I cash out of my winnings. I understand it's best to use some of my profits to step up in the buy-in levels, and now I want to use the money I made towards other life essentials. I would like to know what strategies you use for cashing out, percentage, or all of it. Also, what options do you use to cash out? Visa, debit, instant checks, net teller, whatever. Thanks for taking the time to read this, and as always, love watching your vids. Sincerely, Robin. All right, sweet question. I'm going to try to have a sweet answer for that. Let's go presentation. Shit. I already know how to use PowerPoint. I don't need that. The most important thing when it comes to cashing out is that your cash outs don't affect your ability to play. You don't want to take out so much money that you're forced to drop limits unless it's an absolute necessity. So you pretty much never want to be cashing out the entire roll unless you're extremely tilted and you're worried you might blow it. Obviously, emergencies come up, unexpected bills find their way to your mailbox, and sometimes they need to be taken care of. But ideally, you don't want to be taking out money that affects your ability to play or move up limits if that's what you're trying to do. One big point I'll stress, especially to the newer players in the community, don't be in a rush to cash out. You've invested into your poker roll, you're investing in yourself, and you want to use that money to develop as much skill and experience as possible. You want to be able to withstand those learning losses. Once you become really confident in your ability to make money consistently, that's when you should start thinking about making cash outs. So at first, you pay your dues, you work your way up to it. You're not going to hit that big amount right away, but by overcoming that urge to cash out, by delaying that gratification, you're going to be experiencing much more gratification down the road. For cash game players, the best way to approach cash outs is to treat it like a regular job. You should be aiming to cash out at a regular amount, at a regular frequency, all based on your expectation in the games and whether you're working on moving up limits or comfortable with where you're at. Also, by knowing what your regular expenses are, if you're doing this full time, that helps you set a goal for what that minimum amount should be. By having a regular cash out time and a minimum cash out amount, you'll have something to work towards that will keep you on track. Now, bad runs will happen, and occasionally you may have to skip a cash out. But if you're always cashing out the same amount, even when you're doing extremely well and running extremely well, then you may build up enough of a cushion such that even when you have a bad week, you still have room to cash out because you didn't overdo it with your cash outs before and you had that large source to work with. If you're only a semi-pro or playing poker as a hobby, you don't need to have the same kind of restrictions as I've put up on the slide. But let's be honest, structure is always a good thing to have. And it can't hurt to have a plan like this, even if the amount's really small. Maybe you set a really low minimum cash out amount just so you get the experience of, okay, I'm gonna take out 20 bucks every week. I'm gonna take out 50 bucks every month. Even if you're playing at limits where like that doesn't really matter too much, it's still a nice little treat. When it comes to shot taking, I would advise against cashing out even if you kill it, because it kind of encourages taking shots when you shouldn't. The kind of compulsive gambler in you may come out. The whole point of taking shots is to try to establish yourself at the next limit, not just play it and hope you run good. Cashing out after a big score at the next level will just hinder your ability to stay at that next limit, since your buy-ins become so much tighter. You've really limited yourself and destroyed your cushion. So make sure you have your baseline amount of buy-ins to play the limit you want to, and only cash out when you're above that amount, like at the minimum. If you're ever below your baseline amount, you can't cash out. You could drop limits and cash out, but who wants to do that? Just nose to the grindstone, get it back, put in some volume. Yeah, you'll be fine. All right, talking tournaments now, the much less steady and much more swingy side of poker, in my opinion at least. It's very important to approach tournaments realistically. You're not going to win every time you play, and there will be long periods of breaking even or losing small amounts between those massive scores that come along from time to time. You're going to hit your scores, you're going to have big ones coming in, but you got to wait it out. You know, you should always want to have enough money in your account to withstand these dry spells, which would mean having 100 times your average buy-in. ABI means average buy-in. So if half your tournaments are $10 and half are 20, your average buy-in is 15. If you play $10 tournaments all the time and 1 out of 10 is a $100 tournament, your average buy-in would be like 20. You can do the math. Doing this protects you against the risk of ruin, which is losing your entire bankroll, which is taking you out of the game, which is very sad and should never happen. Since the scores in tournaments can be big though, like really big, anytime you get one, you should treat yourself. Take out a big chunk of that money. Take a huge chunk of that money out because you don't need it online. Unless you're planning to play bigger limits, there is no need to keep that score in your account. Like, it's fine to cash out 80, 90% of that score, lock it up, leave yourself with the amount of money you need to play what you want to play. If you feel like you're ready to move up after a big score, that's fine. Make sure you have 100 times whatever your new average buy-in will be, and be happy to take the rest out. So if you're going to throw one bigger tournament in there, it's not going to bring your average buy-in up that much, and you might need less money than you thought you did. But we're still talking about cashing out. And cashing out and buying yourself something nice is one of the best feelings in poker, because you get a reminder of what you're actually playing for. Online, it's just numbers on a screen in your account. Even when you cash out to your bank account, we all do e-banking now, so it's still just numbers on a screen, you know? But when you get something tangible in exchange for those dollars you worked hard for, something you really want, and you still can keep a good cushion to work with online, or you have a good amount in the bank for safekeeping, then like you really get a good feeling of why you put in those hours, because this is some item or some experience or I don't know, some food that you've always really wanted that you couldn't get, and you're like, I can get this because of poker. But getting it is not gonna ruin my ability to continue to play poker and get more of this. Okay, on this note, it's worth having an item to work towards that will be your reward, something other than money. So, you know, like even a small item can really help to keep the motivation to grind. So figure out what that is for you. Maybe it's a new jacket, maybe it's a new pair of shoes, maybe if you play big it's a car, maybe it's a trip to Ibiza, maybe it's some movie, maybe you want to go to a concert. Like, there are so many things it could be, but if you're like, okay, this is what I'm playing for, you're more likely to play well than if it's just for the numbers. Okay? And as for cash out methods, it really depends on what's important to you. Personally, if I'm cashing out, I want the money ASAP, so I'll go with the speedy option. If it's possible to avoid a fee by cashing out a minimum amount, I'll always try to cash out at least that much. For example, for courier checks that will come overnight, you have to cash out like at least $1,000 to get it for free. Otherwise, you pay $20. Or you could get a regular check in the mail that might take a week or two, but there's no fee. Generally, the time saved though by getting the money sooner rather than later is still worth the $3, $5, whatever it is in fees, because once you get that money, you can put it to work, and that's an extra 2 weeks you have to do things with that money. Now, some deposit methods require you to withdraw the same amount to that method before you can choose another one. I believe this is the case with NetTeller and Skrill for most sites. So if you want to get a check but you deposited 100 with Skrill, you're going to have to cash out 100 to Skrill first before you can then say, I want a check too. I'm more of a bank wire guy than a certified check guy, but honestly, it's all personal preference. Evaluate the options, look into delivery time and cost of delivery, and you'll be able to choose the option that's best for you. Oh shit, we're back to me. You, me. All right, and them to be my thoughts on cashing out. The more structure you have, the better, but you don't necessarily need it. I've got to say, I've been doing well in tourneys lately, so I should probably be treating myself by cashing out. But my priority right now is working my way up the limits. And for that, I need to keep as much money online as possible. When I had my first score when I got home, I said, there's something I've wanted for a really long time. It was an iMac with Retina display where the resolution, like, you can get like 30 tables on the screen. It's fucking crazy. And I'm like, okay, I had a nice day, like a really nice day. I'm going to buy myself that laptop as a treat. Now, I don't have anything else that I really want to buy right now. So it's just like all the money's going to stay online because I just want to move up, move up, move up. And the fastest way to do that is to give myself more capital to work with. Now, if my priority wasn't moving up limits, if my priority was maybe stepping up my fashion game or doing some traveling, then regular cash outs would probably be in order after any good Sunday. But you know, I know what I'm looking for and I know how I'm going to achieve that the fastest and most efficient way possible. So with this info, you know what the ideal way to handle cash outs is. But beyond this info, with your goals in mind, you'll be able to make the best decisions regarding cash outs for yourself. You don't need to just listen to what I said, you can make the decision for you. Okay, if you guys have any questions for Project Get Me Stackin' that you would like answered, please send them on over to evan@grips.com with the subject line Get Me Stackin'. Hopefully I can answer your question and help you get stacking. And if you're finding this channel is helping your game, go ahead and subscribe. Click that red button below, subscribe to the channel, show your support. I promise I will be releasing hella videos for you to watch. Keep you stepping up your game. Feel free to comment, discuss any techniques or rules you have when it comes to cashing out. I always love to hear what the community has to say, and I know that everyone else in the community appreciates it too. Anyway, that is going to do it for me. This has been evan for grips.com. Now you go out there and get stacking.